fellow collectors, and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Deluxe Class Gamer Edition Decepticon Soldier from the Transformers Studio series from Hasbro. So if you played Transformers War for Cybertron back in the day, you probably ran through a couple hundred of these guys, giving us a kind of potential army builder here. With Decepticon Soldier, this is a repaint slash retool of Barricade, which we saw early on in the Gamer Edition. Some nice artwork here of the robot mode. Still have the open packaging here where you can reach right in and touch the figure. Close-up of that artwork here on the side. And then over here you have a little bit zoomed out look at the robot mode. On the back, of course, we have our product shots of the robot mode and the vehicle mode. And he does have the little backdrop that's included as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get this guy out of the packaging and we'll take a closer look. So here is the Decepticon Soldier shown with the backdrop that's included. It's not that exciting. It's just kind of a wasteland area of Cybertron from the game. Looks like some kind of pipe or something that's run down and broken. And I don't know, these backdrops are not always the most exciting. And unfortunately, because the backpack's fairly large, the Soldier doesn't fit that well in the backdrop. You can kind of bring him a little forward and it's a little better, but yeah, not one that I necessarily think I'm going to be keeping. It's just not really that great. So here is the Decepticon Soldier out of the packaging, and I think he's a pretty good figure. If you didn't like Barricade, I think you might actually like this one because there are a couple notable improvements we'll get into in a moment. But overall, the color scheme's fairly basic. You have this kind of light gray and then this kind of metallic army green with the visor that's like a cross between Master Chief and Samus Aran. Obviously, I feel like this whole figure is a nod to Master Chief because I feel like that's the color scheme we have going on here, which is kind of cool. So you have your Halo Transformers crossover. Honestly, though, if they did make a Halo Transformer that turned from like a Warthog into Master Chief, I would definitely buy that, so maybe next up in the crossover line. But back to this figure. It's a pretty good looking figure. Like I said, these pieces on the back don't necessarily stay where they should. It's not a huge problem, but it does give a lot of bulk to the back of the figure. You have these like really hollow thigh areas with these giant pieces just kind of hanging off the back here. So it's kind of a weird dichotomy going on. But this area is still pretty hollow. You have the weapon that you can peg on here, just like with Barricade. So you have nice weapon storage there. Otherwise, just like the others, you can remove the right arm at the forearm around the elbow. And then you can peg in this piece. So it looks like the arm is transformed into a weapon. And that works exactly the same. The gun is exactly the same as Barricade's. No difference whatsoever. So pop this back on here. But I do like the head sculpt. Like I said, I think the paint looks pretty good. You have the little bit of purple highlights to the metallic green. I will say, though, that I feel like the Decepticon symbol gets kind of lost there. And I don't know if that's purposely, like, lightly printed to show some kind of wear or something. But it's really... it just gets lost. Like, I don't know if it needed a white or black outline or something, or maybe they should have done it in the orange on the green, something like that would have really popped, but unfortunately the purple just gets a little lost in there. The head sculpt is definitely basic, but I like it. You have the turn from side to side. You have kind of a lever at the base of the, like if this is the base of the skull where you have the side-to-side swivel, there's a second joist at the base of the neck, and that allows you to kind of bring it forward and back. You have a ball joint here in the shoulder, as well as kind of like a secondary vertical butterfly joint. Instead of a normal butterfly joint being horizontal, this is almost like a vertical butterfly joint. Now that's for transformation, but if for some reason you wanted to utilize it for robot mode, you could. You have the ball joint there. Unfortunately, you can't really get too much in terms of out to the side posability because you're either hitting into the torso, and then when you try to go front, like spin it this way, surprisingly the wheel does not hit into this backpack piece. So that's a nice saving grace there. You have a swivel here at the bicep. You have pretty much 90 degrees there in the elbow, and then you have a wrist swivel. Technically it's on a ball joint, but it's sandwiched between these two pieces, so you're really only going to get a swivel out of it. You have a waist swivel right there. You have nice ball joints in the hips so you can kick forward, and again, really hollow legs. That's kind of a bummer. You can kick backwards. You can kick out to the side. Not really that much. I would say not even really 45 degrees. Unfortunately, it's just the way this is. If they had just beveled out a little bit more of this, you could have gotten that, but they didn't. So that's about as far as you can get. But you have a thigh swivel there. You have 90 degrees. This giant piece in the back of the leg is going to hit into the back of the thigh, but you still get 90 degrees. And then the feet are very simplistic, but I think way better than Barricade's. Barricade had those really long planks. I think these are simplistic, but definitely do the job. Now you also might notice these pieces here on the side. So the thing that I think is interesting with these, the directions tell you to orient them like this. Technically, if you wanted, you could leave them down like this and just kind of leave them connected to the side like they do for vehicle mode. If it'll cooperate, you could leave them like that. The way that Barricade had you do them, you can see that there is a little notch here, and these were supposed to go up. And so I think they were supposed to swivel like this. But you can see that that notch there on the side doesn't hit that. You can see it's way too low. I think this is just for transformation. Or can you peg this onto the side here? No, I think it's just for transformation. But there was a second slot about here that these used to peg into, at least on Barricade. Let me swivel this around. I think these were, and on Barricade, they were supposed to hang there. Everyone agreed that was a terrible idea because they just get in the way of everything. So I don't think anyone actually displayed it like that. And instead, for Barricade, at least I know for me, I just brought this down. Which way did I go? I just brought this down. I probably am supposed to go back the other way. Yep, I'm causing all kinds of problems. I just brought it down and did this. I just kind of left it here on the side of the leg like that, and that's kind of how I displayed my Barricade. I was fine with that. I do kind of like the idea of just attaching it, swiveling this, and then kind of bringing it back down, because that at least changes it up, but still keeps it out of the way. So I kind of like that. But yeah, they decided it was a terrible transformation idea so much that they took the little slit out of the side of the thigh, which I thought was interesting. So let's go ahead and bring Barricade in here so you can see what I'm talking about. So they are basically the same base figure. The other thing that's interesting, for Barricade, you had to take the forearm here and spin it 180 before you could attach it to, you know, the car for vehicle mode, and they've done away with that. So you can see here that the tabs are in the inside. Here they were on the outside. So I think that's interesting because mine is like a little defective. It's not a huge problem, but I think the mushroom peg in there on my Barricade is just too thick, or maybe there's like a piece that from the sprue that didn't fully get, you know, taken off or shaved down. So mine's really tight. I have to like take the forearm off and really concentrate to spin it around 180. And I was kind of worried of something like that happening here again, but you don't even have to worry about it because you don't have to spin these for the, I mean, mine ended up being okay with the swivel, but you don't have to spin this at all. It's just ready to go. It just tucks against the body for the transformation, and that's it. So that's one thing they changed. And then if you see here, if I move these arms out of the way, you can see what I'm talking about with that extra slit there on the side. So that slit there was to have these flip around and hang there. And I guess just universally everyone thought that was a terrible idea, and so they got rid of that. So you can see that that is not there anymore. Also, the whole kind of thigh has been redesigned because here the ball joint's exposed and here it's not. So they did rework a decent amount of this. Now, again, he had these big plank feet that I didn't love. I want to see if I can do the same thing where I disconnect this and spin this around. See, these don't have the same track here on the side that these have. If I bring this out of the way, you can see there's almost kind of a track and then a stopping point. So you can bring this in and then it kind of slides, or you can just line it up where it's supposed to end up and do something like that. Now you still can have this hang here if you like that look better. You still have these big pieces here on the back. They're a little bit less of a mess for Barricade. You can see they're a little bit flatter than they are for the Decepticon soldier. But I hate these feet. These big, long plank feet are pretty terrible. And I think these little smaller feet are such a better idea. But yeah, so again, you could put barricades up here, which I think everyone agreed was a terrible plan. Or you can just leave them here on the side like this. Or if you like this new idea where you kind of take these and flip these around, you could do something like that as well, which honestly I kind of like because it brings a little bit more of the purple into the alt mode, or into the robot mode rather. So I might do that. I kind of like that a lot. And I feel like it doesn't really have a spot to click in, but it kind of naturally hits this lip that's here. And so you can kind of bring that in. Yeah, I like that a lot, actually. It brings a little bit more of the purple into the robot mode. So I think that's how I'll be displaying mine. I like that idea. Having them hang up here was just a terrible idea. It just gets in the way of literally everything. Except now he doesn't... I can't imagine that he's going to fall over. See, the other thing is, because these went all the way like that, he naturally would lean back, and then his bulk would take him further all the way to the ground. So you kind of have to pitch him forward a little bit. This, while these heels are gigantic and a little ridiculous, they are 100% heels, and he is not falling over as a result. So they did make some improvements. So like I said, if you weren't that big of a fan of Barricade, I feel like they did make some improvements with this. They did use the same base mold, but I think they reworked the thighs, which look better. You know, they have the track here to spin these around. These are a little in the way, but they do act as heels. The feet are definitely better. The backpack is pretty much the same. There's not really much different going on there. And I also like that you don't have to spin the forearms 180 for the transformation. So, yeah, I think Barricade was a first draft. And I think this guy over here, he's been perfected a little bit. I think he's pretty good. And I think this is definitely a step in the right direction for this mold. I think they redeemed it a little bit. So I'm pretty happy with this one. It's a shame because I really like his alt mode and I really like the colors. But just, yeah, he's got some issues. This one is definitely better in my opinion. Alright, so transformation for this guy is pretty simple, even easier than Barricade. We're going to start off by opening up the forearms here. We are going to rotate this in. Oops, I did this backwards. We're going to rotate this in like that. So you want the back of the hand facing upward and then close that up. So again, open this up, rotate this like this and fold that in and then close that up. We are going to fold up the little feet. We are going to spin these around and then bring this in so that this lines up and pegs into place like that. Spin this around, and you will have to unhook it from the leg to line it up correctly. And then these will all peg together like so. Then we will spin them at the waist 180 degrees, and then it tells you to just go ahead and drop this in now. Mine doesn't hold together the best. It's not terrible, but it's not the best. Then you're going to just drop this down, and you can see that there is a little tab. Let me zoom in here. You can see the little tab right there, and that is going to tab in right there, while at the same time, this tab is going to kind of hook onto this spot. So you have to kind of bring this in and then drop this on top of there. And that tends to make this want to pop off of here, so you can see how it's kind of separating. But get that to hook like that, and then do the same. Bring this in, peg this in here. Maybe it's easier to drop this on first. There we go. Zoom out, and then the last step is very simple. You're just going to unhook this. This giant square peg was tabbed onto this spot right there, and then this just comes up and over. And this goes in here like that. And there you go. There is your fairly bland vehicle mode. I know he's just kind of a drone trooper. But, you know, there's not a ton going on here. It's very gray. There's a little bit of purple lining the wheel wells there. I feel like that could have maybe paint the whole inside purple or something, or maybe paint the inside purple and then line this in green, or paint this green and line that in purple, something like that. But the green and the purple up here, I think, look pretty good. Of course, you can take the weapon and just drop that in there. Rolls pretty well. But yeah, it's definitely a very generic looking. There's even a Decepticon symbol on there, but you can kind of not see it as it blends in. All these, like, the purple that they used is a cool shade of metallic purple, but when you print it on top of the gray or the green, it just really blends in and you can't see it, so that's a bit of a bummer. But yeah, it's a vehicle mode. Like I said, I know it's a drone, so it's not supposed to be super defined, but it is a little bland looking. But let's bring Barricade in here so you can see the difference. Definitely not as, well, I guess it's pretty close to the same length as Barricade. I love Barricade's alt mode. I love these colors. You know, it's very kind of Batmobile-esque, which I always liked about it. I like the giant kind of cow catcher here on the front. So I just always thought this was such a cool vehicle mode, and it was a shame that the robot mode wasn't that great. So if I could take the robot mode changes from this and then like redo this one because I like this vehicle mode so much more, I think they could really have a slam dunk of a toy here. Because the feet don't need to be this big. You could bring these in and just kind of, you know, make it a triangle like right past this, and you know, you could still have this on the back because you don't see this back part in robot mode that much. Make it so I don't have to swivel the forearms around. Just a couple little improvements. If you could kind of put these two together, I think you could have a really solid toy. This is fine, and I think the changes engineering-wise they made for this are great. But just because it's a drone, it's a little lackluster. Whereas this guy's got the look and the color scheme and the, you know, named character recognition, but just, you know, the design flaws of the first version have definitely been corrected over here. So I wish I could put these two together and have the best of both worlds. But definitely cool. I mean, I could definitely see, you know, a display or something of like him, you know, leading like a squadron of 2 or 3 of these. I think that could be kind of cool, having flanked on at least one on each side, something like that. So I think it could be cool. Like I said, we have a potential army builder here. I don't know if I'm going to be buying a ton of these at full price, but if they go on some kind of sale or clearance, I could definitely see picking up at least 1 more, maybe 2 more. I probably don't need more than 3, to be quite honest, but I could say at least 1 more, because I think it would be kind of cool to have at least 1 on each side. I think that'd be neat. So, but yeah, just to show you the two, you can see it's definitely the same base mold, but I definitely think his vehicle mode is cooler. But again, it's a drone, so it's not supposed to have an amazing vehicle mode. It's supposed to be cannon fodder. So just wanted to show those two next to each other there. I'll be honest, I like this a lot more than I thought I was going to. I kind of had bad memories of Barricade with the arm being stuck on mine and those feet that didn't really balance and just kind of some other design flaws. And I feel like they've corrected a lot of them. I think they did a really nice job here. I mean, step 1, they realized that trying to put these pieces up here in the like armpit / waist area was a total mistake, and so that they have re-engineered that to make sense to hang off down here, where it kind of still gives it a unique look. It doesn't look like it's just, you know, attached to the side like it's going to be in vehicle mode. They swiveled it around and found a place for it to peg in, so it does look like it's been changed some way, but also not in the way of anything else. I think that was really smart, making it so I don't have to spin the forearms around for transformation. Not a big deal, but makes it easier, so I appreciate that. You know, just a couple of, like, fixing the feet, I think was a big deal. Even though these things are kind of a pain in the butt, making them act as heels, I think was really great, because this guy, I mean, you can try to push him over, but he's not, you know, well, there he goes, fine. I was going to say, weebles wobble, but they don't fall down, but I guess if you push him hard enough. But, I mean, for the most part, he's not falling over, which I really appreciate. So, like the color scheme, like I said, I like the metallic purple, but when they print this Decepticon symbol on the green or the gray, it gets kind of washed out, so I wish that was a little bit more pronounced, or maybe outlined in black or white or something like that, so that it would pop more. Or maybe outline it in the orange. I don't know, maybe the orange would be a little too busy, but I think they could have outlined it in black, and I think it would have popped, and that would have been fine. But in any case, like I said, you know, is he perfect? No, I think he's definitely a step up from Barricade. They definitely made a couple of improvements that I think they kind of saved the mold, and I almost kind of want them to redo Barricade at this point, because I think, like I said, if I could smash these two figures together, you could get a really good version of Barricade, and it's just a shame they didn't do this one first and then do Barricade, but I can see why they didn't do that. But I would have rather them have learned with this no-name character and then perfected Barricade instead of vice versa. But here we are. So, like I said, even if you did not like Barricade, I still think it's worth giving this guy a shot, because I think he came out pretty good. They did fix a lot. And, yeah, definitely could be a fun army builder, especially if there's some kind of sale or clearance later on. I would not mind having 2 or 3 of these. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, thank you so much for watching.